something weird like our voices are here live. We know that you can hear us.
Yeah, so Larry and I managed to get the two cans and string together, and so you should be able to hear us without a problem.
Quick recap, there is about 2 minutes left to go in qualifying. All 5 drivers have finished all 4 of their laps. So there'll be, unless the session gets advanced manually, we've got about 2 minutes left to go in the session, but we need that time because we are getting the stream connected properly. So once that's done, then we'll be able to bring the race to you in its entirety. In the meanwhile,
I was saying, Larry, we can tell them that the qualifying time's very, very tight here amongst those 5 cars. Only about a second and a half separating all of them, and that is because our pole sitter, and we'll tell everybody who our pole sitter is in a few moments when we run down the grid. No need in ruining the drama now, but our pole sitter about a half a second up on the rest of the field. But we were just talking when the lights went out. About that Daytona race and how things finished up, and we talked about a couple of cars getting penalties, but there was also, and because we're going to see all 5 of these cars likely take a pit stop today because we think they only have enough fuel for about 25 minutes, give or take, of this 40-minute race. Apparently, the pit stops were an issue for a number of our drivers last week or a couple of weeks ago at Daytona. Why don't you tell them about it?
Yeah, so normally anybody does this when you're doing your iRacing races. Your defaults are always set up to fill the fuel and take 4 tires. And before your race starts, if you're not going to take tires, you check them off, or when you're going to come in for your stop, if you are taking tires, you leave those on, you take your tires, done. If you're coming in for a splash and go for a second stop, and again, how often do you do this? You probably don't need the second set of tires. Well, in the LMP2 category, only one driver had remembered to turn off his second set of tires, and that was Arthur Chan, who made his second stop very quickly, just took the amount of fuel he needed, did not take any more tires, and went on to win the race. Whereas the other drivers in the field did take the tires, much longer pit stops, and came out from the pits behind Arthur Chan, and therefore Arthur Chan managed to win that race. So tonight in this field, we are expecting only one stop, and doubt anyone's even going to take tires here in just this 40-minute sprint. So I think they're going to be smart to do their tire box checking before the green flag even drops.
All right, so it looks like we've got the drivers starting to grid up. Larry, as best I can tell, seeing that I still don't have a view of beautiful Virginia International Raceway.
I've got the view here. Yes, they are starting to grid up the 5 cars. We will do a full pace lap. So once the stream gets going, and it should be happening momentarily, but we are still just getting the cars to the grid lane, I should say, onto the live grid on the track, and then we'll do our full grid rundown, all 5 of them here in this field, and we'll let you know who they are in just a second once they start rolling, and they are not quite rolling yet. 4 of the 5 have made their way onto the track for the grid. One of them is still not there yet. We'll give it just a second. Is the stream? Yeah, it looks like the stream is now live, so we should be good to go.
There we go. It's just in time. I can. So, Larry, why don't we go and
you got this one?
Yeah, enough of the drama. Hopefully, I can remember what rows they're on, but let's go and run down the grid here for our LMP2 race. On the pole with a fast lap of a 1:33.949 in the D2D e-racing machine. It is Andrew List. Starting right beside him on the outside pole is going to be Brendan Whitworth, also in a D2D e-racing LMP car. That is Brandon Whitworth. Starting on the second row, last week's winner, Arthur Chan in the number 50 Axon Driving Solutions car. He was almost just a little bit under full second off of our pole time. Starting next to him on the outside of row 2 will be our second place finisher from last race at Daytona, Dean Cox in the Whipperman Racing machine. And then starting in 5th position today will be Derek Holland in the Indy Autosport machine. That is the number 80 car as they now start their pace lap. And they will make their way around this 17-turn, 3.27-mile Virginia International Raceway course, trying to get some heat in the tires. Now, Larry, before the lights went out in Georgia, or actually in South Virginia, we were watching a couple of these cars make their way around through during qualifying. And the thing about these LMP2 cars is essentially the faster they go, the more aero downforce they have, and usually the better the grip is. But the one thing I noticed is in this section in particular of the course, coming through turn 3, coming through left hook, and then through turn 5 heading in the snake, which is one of the slower portions of the track here with a lot of changes in direction. These cars were very, very loose. And we may see, if not, especially early in the race before these tires come up to temp, that this is going to be, probably the section of the track where you might try to make up a position or two.
Turn 4 and 5, very slow corners, and the other end of the spectrum, turn 14, also very slow corners and very difficult in these. So it's a long wheelbase car meant for those faster, longer tracks. I mean, these things are meant for Le Mans, for Daytona, big, giant tracks. Even the chicane at Daytona is a big corner. The VIR has got these little, slightly more pinchy corners, and these kind of cars really kind of struggle through these things. And I think that's what you had seen was these tighter corners. These things are a bit of a handful.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we've got about a half a lap before we're going to go green flag. And so if you're watching the stream, we do apologize for any bit of glitches that you might find tonight. We've got, it's, the 21st century, it's 2021, and things just happen. And sometimes technical things happen, but we are trying to do our best to make sure that things stay good and clean here for this race for you the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, and the 14th month of 2020 has not exactly been the strongest for us over here. So, again, apologies to everybody. We're working on some of the technical issues as this race gets underway. We're certainly going to bring you the best of the action here on the Ricmotech World Challenge, the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics, as our pace car now brings the field with Whitworth, Chan, Cox, and Holland down through Madison Avenue into 14 and down the roller coaster. And did I forget Andrew List, our pole sitter? Of course I forgot Andrew List, our pole sitter in the number 61 car. They are now making their way down the hill. You can see them very nicely gridded up, all 5 of our starters, as they come down, set up for Hog Pen, which will bring them onto the front straight, where they, in just a few moments, are going to take the green flag for our 40-minute race. And we'll see. I'm actually showing that we're on lap 1 about 5 minutes in, so we'll take a look at that.
What a jump for List, though.
Yeah, so look at that. Now, we talked about this a little bit during the previous race, is that the start zone is actually coming right out of Hog Pen, and List just got on the throttle. Let's take a look at these.
Just like we'd seen in the GTE race,
he went
launch
off
for one of the drivers. It turns into just the worst start you can imagine. But as we've seen, he had pretty good pace in qualifying. He's going to have to use all of it now to catch the rest of this pack. As now the lead turns over to Arthur Chan, who had the great start. Started this race, I believe, in 3rd. Now he jumps past Brendan Whitworth. So now it's Arthur Chan out in front of Whitworth, Dean Cox, Andrew List, the pole sitter, now a few seconds back in 5th.
Yeah, and so Chan and Whitworth, they were side by side going down into turns 1 and 2 as our pole sitter Andrew List, who got that amazing jump, and before we could even finish talking about it, he had that off going down into turn 1, very similar to what we saw at the beginning of the GTE race as well, Larry, here, as these drivers just not able to judge how much heat or how little heat they have in the tires here as our top 4 cars make their way out of Oak Tree for the very first time. And already Our winner from Daytona, Arthur Chan, opens up now about a 2-car length lead over Brandon Whitworth. It's then about another 4 back to Dean Cox and Derek Holland. And you can see just now coming into view about 30 car lengths back was our pole sitter, Andrew List. So he of course, not, you know, the draft isn't really a thing so much with these LMP cars, but you know, he's going to see, oh, and now going around, that is Dean Cox.
And List like, again. Is that List?
Oh, both cars going around. So the number 9 car, Dean Cox, goes around coming through Hog Pen. Andrew List and Holland having some issues.
Was off, yeah.
Yeah, so Holland in the number 80 car. He now drops back as well. That moves Andrew List, our pole sitter, in the number 61 car up into 3rd. But Arthur Chan and Brandon Whitworth.
Yeah, really a rough start in his opening lap. Yeah, rough start there, the opening lap there, with pole sitter List going off in turn 1 and managed to stay on pace here, although he had a pretty rough ride coming down roller coaster for the first time, lost some momentum there. And then, as you'd seen there for Dean Cox and Derek Holland, both of them struggling on their first trip at the bottom of the roller coaster. They're going around Hog Pen, ending up both of them in the grass there and coming around. They've got themselves some work to do. All of this has benefited Arthur Chan, who won at Daytona. Now he's got himself already a 2.5 second gap over Brandon Whitworth.
You know, and Larry, I'll tell you, as I'm watching these cars make their way around the track here, it's almost like we're watching a touring car race, the way they're throwing themselves over the curbing here. But again, the curbing's so flat at Virginia International Raceway, it really doesn't upset them all that much. But Brandon Whitworth had the rear end of this car step out on him coming out of Oak Tree. That allows Arthur Chan to open up about another 2 car lengths on our second place runner Whitworth here as they make their way through. Andrew List probably just absolutely thanking his lucky stars right now, because not only is he now in 3rd as opposed to 5th, he is quite a bit closer to Brandon Whitworth than he was to the rest of the field before everybody started spinning off over at turn 1. So we'll watch now as they make their way onto the front straight and start to make their way down towards turn 1, completing lap number 2.
Look at the pace of Andrew List already. Arthur Chan put in a good solid 36, so Whitworth 36.2, but Andrew List already a 35.5 when he finally got one clean in the books there for lap number 2. If he can continue to chip away a half a second at a time, this race is going to come right back to him. It's a 40-minute race. All he has to do is just take a deep breath and let this race come to him.
And be consistent. Yep. Exactly. And that was his margin in qualifying, just about a half a second on the rest of the field. So yeah, again, if he can stay consistent, can hit his marks, can manage the equipment, you know, again, we're seeing these LMP2 cars, these Delaris 117s sliding all over the place through the first section of the course. We'll have to see how that impacts the tire wear, and whether or not I suspect that these drivers probably are not going to be looking to take new tires when they come in for their pit stops about a little bit less than halfway through this race, or actually a little bit more than halfway through this race, pardon me. But you never know, and we'll have to see if these cars settle down a little bit as more heat comes into the tires. But you know, you mentioned it, very long wheelbase, very tight corners through a lot of this course, and they're just tossing these things around like they're Mustangs, basically.
Yeah, they're just trying to get all the rotation out of them, and it's such a long car. You've got to almost get it to slide to get it to work around the tight corners, like turn 4 and like the top of the roller coaster there at 14, and even Oak Tree to get the thing to rotate, and then you get it to plant. It's kind of it's an interesting setup to make work. But again, look at the pace. Look at Andrew List, 34.7 already on this second flyer. Really is lap number 3. And he is chipping away now, just 3.7 seconds behind the leader, Arthur Chan. And this race is going to come to him at the rate this is going, because Whitworth also catching Arthur Chan. The way this is going, all 3 are going to be nose to tail in about 3 laps. So by the time we get to about lap 7, we're going to have a 3-car train for the lead.
Yeah, so last time by, Whitworth was well, just about a 10th faster than Arthur Chan, and List, as you mentioned, almost 3/4 of a second faster than our leader. So, you know, we'll have to see here as List starts to come up on Whitworth. If Whitworth starts to get very defensive, that could be the one shining light for Arthur Chan, giving him a couple more seconds or maybe even a couple more laps to stretch things out before the inevitable happens and the rest of the field comes to him. But you know, if I were Whitworth, I'd I wouldn't battle all that much, and I'd just try to work on staying close to our leader.
Yeah, possibly at this point, because all three of these guys know that this is not going to be decided in the first 8 to 10 minutes of this time. This is a 40-minute race. It's going to be decided in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So just kind of stay alive and survive. Even if you're still third with 15 minutes to go, there's certainly the race is not going to be over.
All right, so now we've got our leaders heading down into turn 1. There's Andrew List again, currently running in third. He was our pole sitter. And, you know, as we watch the top 3 here, Chan, Whitworth, and List have to look a little bit further back to Holland and Cox, and you can see those 2 drivers. They are still running very close, but now with just about 4 laps complete, and I'm going by the fact that we were showing 1 lap complete on the pace lap here on our timing pylon, that Cox and Holland have fallen off almost 9 seconds from that lead pack in just a few laps.
They have, and obviously the spins there coming. That's how quickly time just goes away from you. You have a spin or go through the grass there coming through a hog pen. It's just so damaging to you anytime you go in the grass, but certainly the hog pen, because it's all just downhill going away from you. Your momentum is gone trying to get down that front straightaway. But those guys could end up with a battle of their own here if Cox can get on pace.
All right, let's take a look now as they make their way down the back straight here at VIR. A little brush of the brakes here as they go and get set up for the roller coaster and make their way down. And yeah, those gaps, they are starting to close down here, as it's now just about a second separating our 2 lead cars, Arthur Chan and Brandon Whitworth, the 50 and the 42. And
I was predicting lap 7. It might be happening by lap 6, the rate they're going, because Whitworth's going to be a 1-second gap with the draft here by the time they get to Madison Avenue, and List is definitely inside of Whitworth's draft here as they come down into turn 1.
And there you go. You can see, again, List almost a half a second, actually a little bit more than a half a second faster than our leaders. And that last time by, Chan slightly faster than Whitworth, about 0.3 of a second faster than Whitworth. But here we go as we come through the snake and make our way up towards the uphill S's. Andrew List all over the back of Brandon Whitworth now as they make their way up the hill. And so, you know, the question, you know, we saw that it looks like he probably is in the draft here. Is he going to be close enough this time by? Gets a good run going into Oak Tree, and coming out of Oak Tree, opens the wheel up, and you notice there no opposite lock, just kind of opens the wheel nice and easily, and great speed onto the back straight here. And as they come down this back straight on the end of lap number 5, they're very, very close, Larry.
Yes, they are. And they're at this point, if you're Whitworth, you don't put up a huge fight, but you know that you're right on the tail of Arthur Chan, and now it's going to be just a battle on. I mean, these guys, it's going to be like a Miata race here in a second with all 3 of them just in a draft train. Miata race at 10 times the horsepower of a Miata.
Yeah, and not quite the slip angles, although very close going into some of these corners.
Absolutely. Yeah, look at these guys. You can see List right on the back of Whitworth now. And Chan is just, at this point, knows that he's a sitting duck. But we're 10 minutes into a 40-minute race. And we're already looking at this like, this is going to be for the lead. But, what's your strategy at this point? You're a quarter into this race. There's a pit stop to be made at some point as you approach that, 18 to 25 minutes of this 40-minute race. Do you just try and get to the pit stop without losing momentum?
I think that's exactly what you do, and what it's going to come down to, Larry, is who can get by with the least amount of fuel, and who is softest on the pedal here, and who's going to make it the furthest when they fill up, because I think that's the only thing. If you're gonna undercut somebody on the pit stop, it's just going to be by essentially underfilling the tank as much as possible. All right, and look at this, all nose to tail now as they come into turn 14, the top of the roller coaster, and start to make their way down the hill. Only about a car length and a half separating each one of these three Dallara machines as they now come onto the front straight. And not much of a difference there as they cross the stripe. Let's take a look at these lap times, and it is so close. But once again, Andrew List, who now moves up into second place, he gets around Brandon Whitworth. List almost a half a second faster than the rest of the field. And look at that. Is that Whitworth on the outside of turn number 1, almost at a stop, Larry?
It is, yes. Unfortunately, he's going to lose all that time and take away what was going to be a 3-car field there. And now he's just going to put himself way back, be able to get it going again. He's not going to fall full victim all the way back to the 4th, 5th battle of Holland and Cox, but he took himself right out of that battle for the lead between Chan and List.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can go back and take a look at what happened there. Is as List got around Whitworth, and it looked like Whitworth just had some issues getting the car underneath him, and had the thing almost at a dead stop on the outside of turn 1. May have outbraked himself trying to hold off List.
It's treacherous there, and what's deceiving, you don't quite always see it in the iRacing sim, but in real life you get out there and you see it. Turn 1 is a downhill braking zone, and it really does come into play.
And slightly off camber on the outside, if you get run out there, you could just assume end up in the Dan River. And actually, back in 2003, I knew a driver who did end up in the Dan River after outbreaking themselves in the wet there. So not unheard of. As we have Arthur Chan in the number 50 car, again, our winner just 3 weeks ago at Daytona for our 70-minute endurance race. Andrew List currently running second in the number 61 car. List finished third at Daytona, and now running a very distant third is Brandon Whitworth in the number 42 car.
We've got
look
a battle
this.
now going on between Derek Holland and Dean Cox, who we had talked earlier about. Well, a couple of mistakes early on took themselves out of this, but it looks like Dean Cox is able to get his pace back on, and he's brought himself right up under the back of Derek Holland, and we've got ourselves a battle as they go through 3 into turn 4.
Yeah, and so we're back over now to the lead with Arthur Chan and Andrew List. As List now all over the back of Chan popping over the curbing. Larry, as I've said, that the curbing here is rather flat at VIR. The one place that it isn't is right at the apex of Oak Tree, and we saw that number 50 car up on 2 wheels for just a moment there. Definitely impacted the exit speed coming out of that corner, and Andrew List now all over the back of the 50 car as they roll down the hill here. Just about to complete lap number 8, and as they do, the margin is only half a second, and oddly enough, Larry, that has been for the most part the margin each lap, with List driving almost a half a second faster that last time by. You can see though, Chan just about 1/10 of a second as opposed to the normal 5/10.
Now it's at the point where if you're Andrew List, either you make the pass or you think about the early stop and going for the undercut.
Yeah, and at this point, depending on how strong and how useful the draft is here, this might be a very good position for List to be in, to essentially let Arthur Chan pull him around this race course, at least down to the 2 long straightaways here, the back straight and the front straight, and go and conserve a little fuel that Arthur Chan doesn't have the liberty of doing as they make their way through.
Yeah, fuel strategy definitely could be a big part of this, because if you can just sit here and lift a little bit and just let Arthur Chan tow you down Madison Avenue a little bit, makes your pit stop a whole lot shorter.
Yeah, I don't see, at this point, I don't know if I would want to be in the lead here. As long as he can stay right in the draft, and, if he falls, 2 or 3 car lengths further back, not that big a deal, because if he can cut down, the amount of time to fill to fill the tank there, and they're not going to require a fill. Again, if we're seeing that, we think that these cars will get somewhere along the lines of about 25 minutes out of the fuel fill. And again, they're not using the full tank. They are only using about 85% of the tank by the rule set there. Then that may to be able to knock 1 second or 2 seconds off of the fuel fill might be enough to just easily put him around, and then he'll have plenty of fuel to finish the race.
Yeah, he could do it that way, or if his pace really is that good, just take that early stop and hope that Arthur Chan takes a late stop. And if his pace is that much better, he'll easily be able to make that pass just based on number of laps he can turn at his own pace without worrying about who's in front of him. But if you're Arthur Chan and you see Andrew List go in for the early stop, maybe you just pit right away and hope you can come out right in front of him to try and not allow that undercut. So you get into that undercut, overcut sort of scenario if you're one or the other, Arthur Chan or Andrew List. So fuel stops definitely coming into play here, where we didn't have in the GT3 GTE fields. We didn't need to have a pit stop here in this LMP2 field. Pit stops are definitely going to be a part of this, as passing is at a premium. Even with this long straightaway here at VIR, with this Madison Avenue, here with these kind of cars, passing is not easy, as you're seeing Arthur Chan has got some pretty good pace. And Andrew List, even though we've seen already he's 5/10, 7/10 faster a lap, being able to actually make that pass stick around here is not an easy thing.
No, not at all. Now, remember, Larry, when the green flag flew, we were at just about 5 minutes on the clock. So I would suspect that if these drivers are going to come in for these pit stops, again, if they're going to be running them down to fumes, expect to see them coming in somewhere with about 10 minutes left to go on the clock. So we still have about maybe 11 to 12 minutes really before we get to the danger zone for these drivers as they make their way through. And and again, it looks like Andrew List just content to sit back there. He came up a couple of times right up to the rear diffuser of Arthur Chan, and then just kind of dropped back. We've noticed that he didn't really pop out of line as if he was going to attempt to pass.
Yeah, he may just be sitting there waiting for a mistake, but Arthur Chan's solid right now. Just absolutely solid. Not making anything that looks even close to a mistake, just laying in lap after lap.
Yeah,
behind them, Brandon Whitworth is laying down some quick times.
Yeah, he's making up some ground, and he's separated himself, as I think we would have expected. He separated himself from both Holland and Cox now, and it looks like that battle for fourth between Derek Holland and Dean Cox has really fallen off the last couple of laps. Now about 3 seconds separating both of those drivers. All right, Larry, tell you what, while we've got the action going on here, we've got one of our admins for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge. That is Jeff Jacobs. Maybe we can bring him in and
Sure.
Talk to him a little bit.
Yeah. Jeff Jacobs joining us. Jeff, I know that I know you pretty well on the outside of the sim racing world, and great to be able to run into you here inside the sim world a little bit. You're a big part behind the scenes here for this Ricmotech series. We've another great showing here tonight with the earlier race, the GT3s, GTEs that you were a part of, and now here with this LMP2 class. Welcome tonight, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about what goes on to put on some of this Ricmotech series.
Absolutely, thanks a lot. Yeah, this VIR track just presents such a challenge, for the drivers. And as we saw in the GT3 and the GTE race, even when you think that somebody's got it locked up or they're in a solid position, it just takes that one little mistake, and it's so hard to recover here. You get some tires off in the grass, and you lost 3 spots just like that. So this always provides some exciting racing.
Yeah, it's a tough track to get around. VAR is just so punishing if you make those kind of mistakes, for sure.
That's right.
Actually, so real quick though, looks like Andrew List is coming in for the early stop, maybe trying a bit of an undercut. So we're going to keep our eye on that. for a minute. But Jeff, yeah. So I think so you do quite a bit here behind the scenes as one of the admins for this series. So working here as an admin for this, what's that kind of like, and what's your work here going into the Ricmotech series?
We are, we're really excited about this series in particular. You know, we had the opportunity to bring in the LMP2 cars this season, and of course tonight is the first time we've done this separated concept where we did the 40-minute GT race, and now we're doing a 40-minute LMP2 race. But having the all three classes combined, especially at our next race, Watkins Glen on March 1st, is also going to really be a challenge. And so much of what we try to do is take the feedback from our members about what do they want, what do they find challenging, what sort of pushes them to improve as drivers and challenges them on the sim, and what are the things that they were asking for is saying, hey, bring in the LMP2 cars, because we had a group of drivers interested in running those, and then having the GTE and the GT3 cars, mixing it up out there really makes for an exciting series.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome to be able to get some of that feedback out there and see how it goes. We know that the first race under the lights at Daytona was just an amazing night with the three classes mixing. I think what you're doing tonight has just been really interesting to try and split things up with these two sprints, to try these different formats. You know, a little surprised here tonight. We don't have the number of LMP2 drivers, considering there were about 10 or 12 here in the first round. You know, but I know that everybody kind of jumps in and out once in a while. I'm sure the next time around we'll see a few more signed up. But so you mentioned some other things maybe coming up that we're going to be trying in the next few weeks.
Well, absolutely. You know, then next week we go back to our classic sprint series. That's with the MX-5. You know, we've retired the Mustang this season, and so that's an all MX-5. About 50 of really, you know, some of the top MX-5 drivers on the service will be out there. We're running Mid-Ohio next week. That should be an exciting one. And then we take the GT4 and the TCR cars over to Mosport on February 22nd for an endurance race there. That'll be 90 minutes with those two classes, and that's always a terrific track and
great place,
provides some really exciting racing.
Very, very fast track, and it's going to suit those two classes very, very well.
Oh yeah, love that's a great track for that kind of mixed racing, and that's as we just saw at Waterbury Motorsports Park last week with those two classes, just put on some great racing between those two classes, right down to the end in both fields. So I'm looking forward to seeing them there at Mosport then in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I love this series. This is some of the best competition, some of the best, cleanest racing that we've seen anywhere. On and off sim, to be honest. I mean, you don't see this kind of racing this close, this tight, this clean, even in the real world, if you ask me.
Yeah, you know, Ryan does such a nice job as our race steward. He takes it very seriously, and you know, he sort of enjoys that half science, half art, you know, of stewarding a race, and really trying to make the right calls about, hey, that was just a racing incident versus, you know, that's maybe the type of racing behavior that we don't want to encourage, right? Or that we want to penalize and discourage. And he does a nice job of finding that balance. And I think the drivers then respect that. So even if they're on the receiving end, you know, of a penalty, we don't get a lot of grief about that most of the time, because they kind of know, it's like, yeah, I made a mistake there. I'm going to pay a price for that one.
Hey guys, let me jump in here real quick. I just want to update our watchers on the action here. So we had Andrew List, who was our first driver to go and drop into the pits. Arthur Chan, a couple laps later, did as well. Chan has managed to come out ahead of Andrew List. They are currently running third and fourth back behind Brandon Whitworth and Derek Holland. Chan currently with about a 2-second margin over Andrew List. Now we saw List make that up fairly quickly previously, but we're still waiting on Whitworth, our third place driver, and Derek Holland, as well as Dean Cox for that matter, to go and make their first and probably only pit stops in this evening's 40-minute race.
Well, it's interesting that Chan, you know, looks like he picked up some time during that pit stop. So then the question becomes, did he do that by shorting himself a bit on fuel? Well, I guess we won't find out for another 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's always the interesting question, is we've seen that happen already in a couple of rounds. We've seen in the past rounds even some drivers running out in the last lap. So definitely going to be watching that. To be able to pick up about 2 seconds on a fuel stop is tough to do. Perhaps just a glorious in-lap and out-lap, but we'll definitely see that in the next couple of minutes. All right, so Jeff, yeah, we are definitely looking forward to. One thing I was going to ask, though, one more thing is, you guys still taking applications for people to get into the series? Is that right?
Absolutely, yes. We'd certainly love to have some more of the LMP2 drivers join us, but we've also got spots open for GTE and GT3. I'd say we probably have between 5 and 7 spots still available before the grids would just be too full, especially for the popular tracks.
All right, well, we'll definitely keep that word out there. Anybody I ever talk to, I always recommend. This is some of the best racing I've seen anywhere. It's spectacular, clean at the front. This is top level stuff, and love watching it. And if I weren't watching it, I'd be in it. So definitely a lot of fun. Recommend it to anybody.
Well, terrific. Hey, we appreciate the great job that you guys do. And Greg, hey, welcome to the team. We love having you here.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I am definitely glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me along. It's been a great evening so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And I think real quick, we're gonna also get Bobby Childs in here. Bobby Childs, who's team manager for the D2D Motorsports team, who's got his name into a lot of his drivers in a lot of these fields. Bobby, welcome to the booth tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
So appreciate you joining us. It's great. You're always giving us lots of tips during the week about how your guys did. In fact, you were the one that had given me that tip about the unnecessary tire changing that was happening at Daytona that maybe some of the guys were doing. So what are you seeing here tonight, and as far as what Andrew is doing here, making his way back through the field?
Well, you saw right at the opening, Andrew is a very aggressive driver. That carries over from his time running the Global Mazda series in real life. Mm-hmm. And I think he kind of burned his tires up just a little bit trying to walk Arthur down in that opening stint. Because you see now Arthur's able to kind of keep a gap on him. I don't spend a lot of time in the LMP2 myself, but one thing these guys have told me in practice is they do tend to get a little bit of a push, a little bit of an aero push behind other drivers. So I think what we're seeing is Andrew able to kind of get up behind Chan, but then the combination of the aero push and the stress he put on the tires, he's just not really able to get that little extra push to get by him.
Yeah, and I could see with a nice little four-wheel drift going down through South Bend there, where he might be running those tires off just a bit. I will say that he is making up the last couple of laps, Bobby, about 4 to 5 tenths per lap, which is again what we saw in qualifying. So he is closing things down. Margin right now only about. Looks as though it's about 6 tenths separating those two drivers. Yeah,
right back to about where it was before the pit stop exchanges all started. And with 10 minutes to go, it's about the place that you want to be, as the lead's going to go right back to them now, with Derek Holland finally the last of the pit stops coming through now.
Yeah, I can tell you Andrew wants this really, really bad after what happened at Daytona. Mm-hmm. He had that race. He felt so good, and then to have it go away with the tires being automatically checked. You can expect him to continue to push really, really hard here, and it was really a shame to see what happened with Brandon earlier as well. Right as that lead battle was tightening up, Brandon just kind of cooked it down into turn one there and exited the lead battle there. It was really a shame, because I know him and Andrew like to race each other pretty hard. One thing Austin loves to say when he's in the booth is there's no team orders at D2D. And that's true, but we don't have
Let me
to
write
do
that
team
down.
orders.
Hold on.
Yes.
Greg,
We don't have to do team orders because these guys treat each other with respect. We've been together about 2 years as a team now, so it's they'll rub a little paint with each other, but they know it's all just good, hard racing.
I just say, Greg, just wait till we watch a TCR race in 2 weeks, because we saw last week at Barber. We'll catch them in a couple weeks on their next round. The TCR racing is just fantastic with some of these guys like List and Whitworth when they're going at it in the Audis.
Oh yeah, and Eric Violet, our champion in the TCRs from last season, they don't care about that D2D, that Pro Forma Elite Texas graphics on the side of that car. They are going at it, but they're not going to wreck each other, but they are definitely going to get the elbows out.
Oh my! Cannot wait!
And that's where all of our announcers are now seem to be heading. Is they're going to be in there. So, yeah, we're going to see Austin in that series coming up soon.
Nothing good is going to come of that, I guarantee you.
He looked at it and said, "That looks like way too much fun. I got to be a part of that." So
yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see if once he's behind the wheel, if he keeps saying no team orders in D2D, no team orders.
Oh no, well we do have one team order.
Don't let Austin beat you.
Yeah, yes, but no, we actually because the series does need more drivers. D2D is working with anyone who comes into the series. If you're excited about running the TCR or curious about it, and you pop in and you're like, wow, these guys are running pretty quick. Eric, Brandon, Andrew are all willing to help at any time with setups, with coaching, because we want to have a really good TCR field. We want to have really good battles out there. You know, the D2D guys love racing each other, but they want to get those other guys up there with them too, because I'm sure you've heard the old football adage, iron sharpens iron, and that's what these guys want to have. They just want to have good battles on the track.
For sure.
All right, excellent. So that's Bobby Childs. He is the team manager for D2D Racing. Bobby, thanks so much. I'm gonna let you guys jump back, and I'm sure you got some screaming to do with your driver here. Give him a little bit of a push, get him back up to the front.
I'm gonna tell Andrew to put his scotch down because he's driving with one hand. He's got the scotch with one hand, and he's driving with the other. I'm gonna tell him to focus on the driving and not the scotch.
There you go. So wait, the fact that Larry and I can do that and get through a race evening, okay. I mean, that's understandable. But if Andrew's driving that way, okay.
Oh yeah, when you see the four-wheel slide, that's because he actually looked down. He dropped a little scotch on his lap.
There you
go. Down at the scotch.
He's got a scotch, and Arthur Chan's got a Molson, for the Canadian up front. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh my, yes.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it, man. Again, that's Bobby Childs. He is the team manager over at D2D, as things are definitely heating up here at the front with Arthur Chan in the number 50 car. Again, Arthur was our winner at Daytona just a few weeks ago, and List now right behind him. Now, Larry, we didn't have a chance to run down where we were in points after our race at Daytona. We'll go and give people a rundown here really quick. Arthur Chan, our winner, currently sitting atop the leaderboard with 37 points. Dean Cox, who is running fourth currently tonight, he finished second and has 35 points. Andrew List, who you're watching battle it out right now for the lead, finished third, has 34 points. Then Tyler Gumet, then Brandon Whitworth fifth. Brian Reeves sixth, Derek Holland seventh, Chad Parker finished in eighth at Daytona. But let's jump back over to the action now.
Tell you what, these guys up front better look out, because there is one Brandon Whitworth.
He's getting closer.
He again resets fastest lap of the race. He's now just 3.5 seconds behind these guys. And he has been picking up on the order of about 0.8 a lap. Yeah. He does that 2 or 3 more times, he's going to be on their heels. And Arthur and Andrew are going to be looking out for one Brandon Whitworth to potentially have a shot to win this race. And who would have thought that about 10 laps ago when he was 8-9 seconds back?
Yeah. All right. Looks like Dean Cox is now taken to the pit lane. And I think, Larry, he may have been the last driver to head to the pits. And a very quick splash of fuel, and he is back on his way on track here as we jump back over to our leaders, Arthur Chan and Andrew List. And gosh, no more than a couple car lengths separating him, although Arthur Chan, he got a great run out of Oak Tree that time by. And I think that probably comes down to what Bobby was saying, is that the front end of these cars just happens to wash out behind the dirty air of the car ahead. And good run here at the end. Oh, and there he goes, trying to sneak down the inside. Cannot get it done. Arthur Chan covers at turn 14, top of the roller coaster, so he's going to hang on there. And you can just see Arthur List's car, Larry, as he came down the roller coaster. It was just moving all over the place under throttle. I think he's starting to run those rear tires off.
I think that's a little bit of it. I think Andrew List's tires might have gone a little bit, as Bobby was saying. Maybe he ran them off a little bit early in this race. I'm wondering if Arthur Chan's got a little less downforce on his the rear of that car, so he's got a little bit better straightaway speed, able to kind of hold on the front, the straightaways there to keep Andrew in his wake. And I think that wash that the trailing car suffers from when you get up underneath the back of that leading car, that's the problem. You run an aero car. You get up underneath, you lose all that downforce. Oh, and there he goes. Andrew List going to spin. We're just talking about it, getting
there
into
you
that
go.
wash.
Yeah,
and turn 5
in the one of the tightest sections of the track, and so now Brandon Whitworth in the number 42 car. He will take over second place as our leader, Arthur Chan, now with all the breathing room he needs. Well, maybe not all the breathing room he needs, because Brandon Whitworth is still just about 2.5 seconds back. But Arthur Chan now, starting as he comes out of Oak Tree, starting to come up on some of the coming up on the tail end of the field here. But just as Andrew List was starting to pressure Arthur Chan, List puts the car around and gives Chan at least a little bit of breathing room.
It's breathing room, but it isn't much. The only thing that Chan's doing right now is he's looking at that clock and hoping it'll tick faster, because the last thing he needs to do is to have too many more laps in this race, because there is one really fast Brandon Whitworth. Although Arthur Chan's last lap, 34.96, his best of the race. Brandon Whitworth's last lap, 34.50.
So just about a half a second.
He's staving him off, but not by much. But this last time by, Arthur Chan 1 full second slower than Brandon Whitworth. Brandon is coming hard onto him, now just less than 2 seconds back. And if it's going to be 3 laps, and it's going to be close to a full 3 laps, that's going to be enough time for Brandon to get on the back of Arthur Chan. If it's only 2, it may not be enough. And it's going to be really close to that amount of time, because when they came across the stripe, we were right about 37 minutes. Really, really close to getting that white flag next time by. I just feel bad for Andrew List. It's just it's terrible to come out of 5 like that, catch a little curb along with the wash. The car just pushes out a little bit, catch that grass, and around he went.
Yeah, might have had something to do with Bobby talking about driving one-handed. I don't know. Might have gone 1 lap too many on that drink, but Andrew Whitworth really starting to close things down now on Arthur Chan. The margin now at 1.6 seconds, so just in the last half lap has knocked another 2/10 of a second off of our leader's pace as they make it through. And Larry, I think you're spot on. I think we're looking at probably as Chan comes down, ready to cross the stripe.
This should be white flag.
Yeah, it should be 1 last lap to go here, as we have just about a minute 15, a little bit under a minute 15 left to go. So
for Arthur
this should
Chan,
be the very
that's the
last
best
lap.
news there is, because if there were 2 laps to go, I think Brandon Whitworth would have been there. This way, Brandon's got a lot of work to do here, not much time to do it in, with just 1 minute left now, but 1 lap remaining, it appears, for Brandon Whitworth to try and chase down Arthur Chan. Just about 12 more corners.
Yeah, he's getting there, but I just don't think there's going to be enough time as they come through that real tight section they call Snake here at VIR, and coming on to the short run over towards the uphill S's. He's still about 4.5, maybe 5 car lengths back. He's making up a little bit of ground here, Larry, but it is going to be a huge challenge.
One more roller coaster for Arthur Chan. Whitworth's close. Arthur's made his Oak Tree exit. He's just got to now get that breaking point and turn in for roller coaster.
Now, the one thing I've noticed here that Whitworth has done for the last 3 laps is he's taken very late entries to almost every corner here, try to lessen the load on those tires and make it a little bit easier to drive. It's definitely not the fast way around, but you can see that he makes up a ton of ground on the back straight. But now, with just 2 corners left to go, they come through Hog Pen and onto the front straight here for what should be the checkered flag, and the checkered flag is being displayed. There it is in the air, and your winner today for the 2nd race in a row is Arthur Chan in the Axon Driving Solutions number 50 Dallara. Arthur Chan is your winner. Brandon Whitworth will bring it home in 2nd. Finishing 3rd, Andrew List.
Arthur Chan getting it done. the man who just drives the clean race start to finish. Everyone else seemed to have little problems here and there, little spins and recoveries, other spins and recoveries. Arthur Chan's the only one who ran that race without a spin and recovery and just kept putting in the laps to be able to get it done, and had that pit stop that was just faster than everyone else to make sure he came out in front. And turns out that might have been the difference, because that meant he was ahead of List instead of trailing.
Yeah, absolutely. When he came out on track after his pit stop, he had a margin of just about 2 seconds, Larry, and that was quite a bit more than what he had when List, who was our first driver to head to the pit lane, when he rolled down the pits. So definitely a little bit of a change there. You know, I think List's strategy of heading to the pits early created a little bit more uncertainty in how much fuel he was going to need in order to make it to the end of the race. And you know, as we saw, the drivers that waited a little bit longer, and you know, Whitworth, I think, was the last of those top three to head to the pit lane. It really helped out quite a bit, because they were able to run those last few laps with maybe a little bit lighter fuel load as well.
Yeah, just maybe. And it turns out that that win for Arthur Chan might have been all those little things put together led to that victory for him here tonight, because he did not win by much, but you don't have to win by much. You just have to win. Little victory half donut there.
There you go.
Big car to do donuts in, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's almost the entire width of the track there, but I might add that he did a better donut than our GT3 driver did, I think. All right, and there we go. As our top three finishers line the cars up for their podium celebration and for some great photos.
All right, so with that, tell you what, why don't we just take a short break? We'll come back with some interviews and results in just a few minutes. You are watching the Ricmotech World Challenge presented by Elite Proforma Texas Graphics. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The official Road to Indy E-Series returning to iRacing Wednesday, 6:45 Eastern. Catch all the action live right here on Apex Racing TV.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
All right, and we are back with the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech World Challenge, sponsored by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. And Larry, what a great race there in LMP2. Not many cars, but the action made up for it all. Taking the win tonight in the Axis Driving Solutions number 50 car was Arthur Chan, with Brandon Whitworth only just a couple car lengths back in his D2D Racing E-Racing number 42 machine. Andrew List, I'm sure he's probably beating himself up over it, but he finishes on the last step of the podium, also in a D2D E-Racing car, the number 61 machine, finishing fourth tonight. Derek Holland, Dean Cox in the number 9 car comes home in fifth. So, Larry, I think we have all three of our podium finishers waiting for us here on the podium. Let's go to Andrew List, the number 61 D2D E-Racing driver first, and
right.
I'll hand him over to you.
All right, so let's start out with Andrew List, who started tonight, I believe, on the pole, had a great start until he got to the braking zone in turn 1 and had to work his way back through. Andrew, walk me through a little bit of your very exciting race.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't really, D2D hasn't really been in this car too long. So me and Brandon are both new to the kind of quirks in this. So our first race was Daytona, and you could get in the braking zone right away because he started on the back straight. And this one, he made the full lap around. So, I mean, as soon as I hit the brakes in turn 1 at the 4 marker, I mean, there was just nothing there. So I learned really quick. I was like, wow, these tires really cool down when you're not working them. So, yeah, it just kind of started off right there on a downhill, and got my way back up to second place. And yeah, I was just behind Chan the entire time. It's really hard to pass on this track. You know, we have a lot of aero on these cars because of all the bumps and all the turns and all the high downforce cornering and stuff like that. And as soon as you got within 4/10, I mean, especially from 1 all the way to 7, I mean, there was just no sticking with Chan. I mean, it was just like you would go into a corner and just immediate understeer coming off, or it would just, you know, it'd be the dogtail wagon, you know, your back end would be going every time you'd hit the throttle. So yeah, it was just a combination of those things, pushed a little bit too hard. And, you know, I ended up P3, which I'm happy with, but I think we just kind of need to go back to the drawing books and put a little bit more work in.
We had a chance during the race to talk to Bobby Childs a little bit, and he had a couple of theories on really what made it so difficult for you to get past. The first one was the aero push. So you get up under somebody and the car just pushes, and may have had a little bit of contributed to that, the bit of an off you had there in turn 5. The other was one of your one-hand driving style, the other hand on some whiskey, I'm told. Is that part of what was going on tonight?
That's only in practice. In practice. But I know I'm going to need a whiskey after this race. I mean, it's one to forget, but one to learn from, you know.
Sure. No, but it looked like a lot of fun out there. You did have a great battle all the way right up there with Arthur Chan right up until the end. Unfortunately, a bit of a spin there, but that did end up moving your teammate there, Brandon, up into the second spot. But you managed to pull this up into a podium finish for yourself. So not a bad thing there, and you guys are definitely still learning and getting faster week after week in this car.
Yeah, I think definitely it's just a matter of time for us. I mean, we've proven that we had speed, especially at this track. I think me and Brandon were the fastest cars on track. It was just about, you know, maintaining those 2 front positions and not getting stuck behind that aero push. So I think it's definitely a learning curve for us coming into this car, especially since we're more used to the TCR and Mazda racing. So I think just in a matter of time, we'll be standing on the top step.
I'm sure we'll definitely be seeing that soon. So congratulations on the 3rd place finish tonight. Look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. All right. Let's bring in our 2nd place finisher and Andrew's teammate. We'll bring in Brandon Whitworth. And Brandon, at the end of this race, you were by far the fastest car on this track. We were speculating that this race had about 1 or 2 more laps, that you would have been right there alongside Arthur. Was that your thought as you were watching the clock counting down?
Yeah, same old story, right? I just needed 1 more lap.
Of course, right? Oh, yeah, you were absolutely flying at the tail end of this race. But walk me through a little bit of the early stages that led to you having to make that climb and coming back.
Well, the race started off pretty good, and I was kind of trying to take it easy on the tires because the track was a little hot. So everything was going pretty good. I was just following Arthur around for a little bit, trying to decide, you know, when I wanted to make a move or when I was going to try things. And then going into one, he might have braked a little bit early, and I probably broke a little bit late. So that was a bad combination. Just locked the fronts up, slid off the track. That was probably about the safest thing I could do.
Yeah, and that puts you down a little bit. Next thing you know, you're having to claw your way back up. And for a while there, we're all here talking about Andrew and Arthur having their battle, and we're watching you 8 seconds down, 5 seconds down, 3 seconds down, and suddenly you find yourself at the tail of that race, kind of in Arthur's shadow as the clock's running out, and turning in what I end up watching is the fastest lap of the race. So you definitely had the pace there in the closing moments. So did you feel the car was getting more comfortable for you as the race went on?
Yeah. The car is definitely getting. I mean, track's cooling off a little bit. The car was coming to me, so it was feeling pretty good. It was making it easy for me, which was nice.
Yeah, we just talked to Andrew, and you guys as a team are still continuing to develop this car. Going into the next round, there's going to be a lot more testing and development going on.
Oh yeah, yeah. That will never end with this car. If I had to take a guess.
Well, great to see it, and definitely looking forward to some more D2D teammates working their way through this field. And congratulations on the second place finish here tonight at VIR.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brandon. All right, with that, we're going to bring in our winner here tonight. And for the second race in a row, the winner in LMP2 is Arthur Chan. Arthur, congratulations on the victory.
Yeah, thanks very much, Larry. Yeah, it's Daytona. After Daytona, I thought that was one of the highlights of my iRacing career, but this one ranks right up there. Very happy with how I managed to drive today.
Yeah, you had virtually flawless. We didn't see any major issues. A lot of the other guys kept having offs, and they would claw themselves to get back in, and at times they seemed fast. You just seemed just steady, clean, and you had a lot of fighters coming at you from all over. You had Andrew on your tail. You had Brandon at the end there on your tail. Mm-hmm. Did you even have your mirrors on, or did you just continue looking ahead?
Oh, I was looking at those splits every lap. Yeah, I'm not the fastest driver on the hot laps, and on my endurance team, I'm kind of the guy that's relied upon to just put in laps without making major errors. So it doesn't really prepare me for a sprint race like this, but for a track like VIR, it really came in handy. I'm pretty happy I didn't make any major errors, a couple of small ones here and there. So I know I lucked into the win a little bit in Daytona, and I feel like I lucked into a little bit here as well with Liston and Whitworth going off.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, we had looked at your pit times are about a second and a half or more faster than the other guys. I don't know if you realized how much faster your pit lane time was, because when you came out, you had to stretch that lead.
Yeah, I really have to go back and look at what was going on. So, I mean, my plan, I knew the other two guys were faster than me. So my plan was to defend the undercut. So I pit right after List went in. And I really wasn't sure if I was going to come out ahead, because I know he was going faster. So I was pretty surprised. I was 4 seconds ahead coming out of the pits. So I'll have to go back and see what happened there.
Yeah, great strategy. It definitely paid off. You were able to hold him off behind you and hold off Brandon at the end of that race for yet another win. 2 in a row now here in LMP2 for Arthur. Yeah. Anybody you want to thank for this victory here tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to definitely thank my teammates at Axon Driver Solutions. There's a lot of very fast drivers there. We drive a lot every week, and they're always pushing me to find more speed. So I'm always feeling like I'm the slow one out there, so that helps drive me along. And last year I worked with a guy named Ray Phillips at Precision Driving Analytics. He's a real life coach for Ferrari Challenge drivers, and connected with him last year, and he really helped improve my driving last year.
Yeah, having a coach definitely helps, and pays off on nights like this, getting 2 in a row for these wins, and maybe that trend will continue here in a couple of weeks as we'll move on to the next round. I believe we're going to be at Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks, so looking forward to seeing you there.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know beating those guys is tough. D2D is so strong, as you can see in the other Ricmotech leagues, so I'm definitely not taking these wins for granted. I'm not expecting to keep on winning, so I'm going to have to keep pushing on.
Yeah, earn those points while you can and see how it all plays out. But congratulations on the win tonight, and good luck in the next rounds.
Okay, thanks very much, Larry.
Thanks, Arthur.
All right, Larry. So that was actually a great segue. As you mentioned, we are going to be at Watkins Glen for round 3 of the Ricmotech World Challenge. But let's take a look at all the different upcoming events that we have across the 3 different Ricmotech series. Starting off on February 22nd, that is next Monday night, the Sports Car Series. That is our Mazda MX-5s. They are going to be at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I think Bobby from D2D started to talk that up just a little bit. Join us, as you always do, at 8 p.m. on Monday evenings. That is going to be a 75-minute race. Then we are going. Actually, you know what?
I think we're at Mid-Ohio next week for the MX-5s.
Yeah, I need a calendar or something. Yeah, well,
we're
all
at
right.
Mid-Ohio next week for the MX-5s for the Classic
Exactly.
Sprint. And then we are at Canadian Tire.
And then we're at Canadian Tire for the TCR and GT4 cars and the Sports Car Series. Yeah, so I completely botched that, and my guess is I won't be back for next week. And then
so if you
we
want
go
to do
to Watkins
commentary
Glen
for the Ricmotech Series. Oh.
Yeah, and then we go then to Watkins Glen on March 1st. But Larry, another great evening of racing. Of course, if you want to find out more about Ricmotech World Challenge or the Sprint Series or the Sports Car Series, you can find out more at extrememotorsports99.com, and you can also see all the season point standings there as well. But Larry, a great first evening for me. Thank you for having me, and can't wait to be back next week for the Sprint Series.
Thank you, Greg. All right, and thanks, Alex. Thanks, Dennis. And we will hope you all have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.